Hey everyone, thank you for watching. So today's video is going to be 7 of my most disappointing makeup products that I tried in 2017. Oh boy. So last week I posted my top 17 favorite makeup products in 2017, and in that video there was a lot of comments that came in asking me to do it on the flip side, where I talk about my most disappointing, my least favorite from 2017. Not only were there a lot of those comments, but a lot of those comments also got a ton of thumbs up, so I knew a lot of people wanted to see this video, and at first I kind of questioned it because I didn't want to make this too negative. I don't really like putting out super negative videos. At the end of the day, we do have to remember that it's just makeup, and it's just not possible for one makeup product to work for everybody. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with makeup not working out for someone because it just is the reality of buying makeup. So I was like, you know what? I still am gonna do this video. I know a lot of you wanted to see it, and I always appreciate video suggestions as well. So that's what we're gonna do today. I'm going to pick 7. I didn't want to do 17. I thought that was too many, but I chose 7 of my most disappointing, my least favorite makeup products that I tried throughout 2017. So if you are ready to see those products, why don't we go ahead and get started. So first up, I'll talk about 2 makeup products that I did end up returning. I was going through like my makeup monthlies throughout the year and some of my other videos where I knew I was reviewing products, and I made a list of them. I have 2 eyeshadow palettes that I returned because I just did not think that they were good quality, especially for the price. So the first eyeshadow palette that I'm going to talk about is the Urban Decay Naked Heat. This was a $54 eyeshadow palette. I believe I purchased mine from Sephora, and I was just so bummed about it. I was so excited for this palette, and I felt like it was getting a ton of hype before it released. I purchased it right after it released, and I was so excited for it. And I ended up being incredibly disappointed. Like I said, I did return it, so I'll have a photo of it up on the screen, but there was a couple things that didn't work out for me. One, I wasn't like blown away by the formula, and I was actually pretty disappointed in the shimmers. I remember really having to work with the shimmers, you know, have my damp brush to make the shimmers work. They just were not working out for me. I remember thinking that the mattes were okay, but again, it wasn't like a formula that was absolutely blowing me away. And I also thought that there's too many similar colors in there. You know, the eyeshadow palette doesn't have an overwhelming amount of shadows in there, so when there was like a handful of shadows that seemed so similar to other shadows in the palette, I was kind of like, what? Why did they do that? I wish there would have been a larger shade selection even for such a monochromatic palette. I still thought there should have been a better shade selection in there, and then especially for purchasing it for the $54, I was like, this is just not worth it to me. I don't think it helped that the Jaclyn Hill palette from Morphe released at that same time, and it had a lot of similar shades to the Urban Decay Naked Heat, and that's one of my favorite palettes that was mentioned in the top 17 in 2017. So I was like, I can't justify keeping the $54 eyeshadow palette when I'm just not as impressed with it. So I did end up returning the Urban Decay Naked Heat. I know a lot of people really love that palette, so you know, it's everything makeup wise is such a personal preference, and for me, we just weren't able to vibe. The other palette that I returned in 2017 is a bit more recent than the Naked Heat. This one was the NYX Cosmetics In Your Elements eyeshadow palette, and I picked mine up in Fire. These were a fairly recent release. NYX Cosmetics released the In Your Elements collection, I think it was, because I think they also had lipsticks and eyeliners with it, but they also had like 6 or 7 different eyeshadow palettes, and there was like fire and earth and wind and all of that, and I picked up the Fire palette because it had like a red in there and a yellow and these oranges, you know, the colors that we think of when we say a fire palette, and I was pumped up, man. And then NYX released the prices on the palettes, and they were $30 for a NYX eyeshadow palette, and I was like, that's expensive, NYX. What are you doing to us? But I really truly thought if NYX is going to be putting out $30 eyeshadow palettes, that they were going to be, you know, really confident in those palettes. Like, they were really going to be worth it. I mean, we are definitely noticing that drugstore prices are rising and rising and rising. I mean, $30 for a NYX eyeshadow palette when you can purchase Anastasia for $42, that's pretty wild to me. but I was like, hopefully they, you know, they're really standing behind their palettes, and I just could not get on with it. I did try that out in a first impressions type of video, and the comments that you guys were leaving, like, it hurt my eyes watching you try to blend those eyeshadows. I remember it was one comment that stuck out to me. I was like, I know, and I kept having to switch brushes in the video. I was like, I'm just gonna try this other brush, and I'm gonna grab out this other brush. I don't have to do that for eyeshadow palettes. They weren't very pigmented. They did not blend well. It just was, overall, it was a pretty big fail for me, especially for being $30. I purchased mine from Ulta, and I took it right back because I was like, nope, I cannot justify this at all, and I just did not like that eyeshadow palette. So unfortunately, the NYX Fire Palette was a no-go for me. So I do have a couple different foundations here that did not work out for me. Definitely, I feel like, I don't even know when it would have been, like kind of early 2017, early to mid 2017, I all of a sudden got on a foundation kick. I wanted to try all of these different foundations from all these different brands. I mean, I still am. I'm loving trying out different foundations, but I have found that not every foundation works out for me, of course. So I have a handful of foundations here to talk about, but one is the Tarte Clay Stick Foundation. I was so bummed that I did not like this because this also was getting a ton of hype at the time. I remember I purchased this along with the Clay Play palette, which I think, again, I mentioned in the top 17 of 2017. I purchased those at the same time, and like, I love the Clay Play, and this was like such a fail for me, and I was super bummed about it. I did a foundation declutter recently, and I did declutter this guy, so it's in my declutter pile. I have it up for sale, like on my blog sale and things like that, because I did purchase this myself from the Tarte website, and I purchased it like right when it came out too, because I purchased from the Tarte website. It hadn't even hit Sephora or Ulta yet. That's how excited I was about both this and the Clay Play palette. I was so disappointed when it didn't work for me. One of the biggest problems was that the shade wasn't right for me. It's in light, medium, neutral, and it's just too light of a shade for me, unfortunately. But also, I didn't like the coverage. I felt like it was super, super light coverage. For me personally, my preference is medium. If it's really full coverage, I tend not to like it. If it's really light coverage, I tend not to like it. And this one was just way too light for me. And I felt like I was having to use a ton of product when I put this stick foundation on. I mean, I have to cover my entire face with a very thick layer for it to look like I have some sort of foundation and it's trying to even out my skin. Like, it was just not working out for me. So yes, the shade didn't match me, but I also didn't love the coverage, and I didn't think it did anything for my skin. I didn't think it made my skin look better. I didn't think it made it look healthy. It just didn't do anything for my skin. It just kind of sat there. It's just that foundation that sits there on your face. That's it. So unfortunately, the Tarte Clay Stick Foundation, this was a disappointment in 2017. Another foundation, this should come as no surprise, this also got decluttered in my foundation declutter video. This is from Estee Lauder. It's the Double Wear Nude Water Fresh Foundation. I don't know what it is that has made me so mad at this foundation, but something about this foundation just has made me angry. I feel like I got hyped for this foundation because the original Estee Lauder Double Wear is like such a loved foundation and everybody always raves about it. I never personally went for it myself because everybody would also say how full coverage it is. And I'm like, well, since I don't love full coverage, it'd probably be a bad decision to get it. But when they came out with the Water Fresh makeup, it wasn't supposed to be as full coverage. You know, a water foundation is typically more liquidy and all of that. So I was like, okay, maybe I'd still be able to breathe. I don't like feeling like, I don't like feeling like you can't see my skin type of thing. So when I saw the Water Fresh foundation, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for it. And first of all, it was a $42 foundation and it didn't come with this nice pump. I had a lovely subscriber end up sending me a MAC pump because in the video where I was trying it, I was like, what in the heck? It doesn't even come with a pump and it's $42. Like, drugstore foundations that come with a pump. And the problem is because it's such a liquidy foundation, when you try to pour it out, it makes a huge mess. So that was one thing. I was like, everything else about it is really nice, like the glass bottle, the frosted glass bottle, like everything looks so good on it, and then you open it up and you have to dump it out everywhere. I'm like, oh man. And I'm not someone who likes putting makeup on their fingers, because I know a lot of people are like, just kind of casually put your finger in there and then dab it on your face. I don't know why this is a thing for me, but I don't like putting makeup on my fingers. Like, I don't like swatching. I don't know what it is. It's just something weird about me that I've learned since starting a YouTube channel, honestly. So I was bummed about the high price and then having to do the pump on top of it, because she sent along a MAC pump, which is $12. So now we're talking high 50s for this foundation. So I'm like, first of all, that's just a lot of money in general for a foundation. That's a lot for me to spend. I know I personally didn't purchase the pump myself, but if I were to have kept this foundation, I think I would have purchased the pump myself because I just didn't like the mess that I was making with this. But then at the same time, I just didn't love the way it looked on my skin. I think because it was so liquidy, it was just kind of like leaving streaks no matter if I used a beauty blender or a brush or what it was. I felt like my skin looked streaky after I used this, and it would make me self-conscious. Like if I used this before I went on camera, I was constantly reaching over and grabbing my mirror and looking and having the brush next to me and making sure I didn't have streaks on my face. So it definitely made me self-conscious, and you don't want that in a foundation, of course. So I didn't love the way that it looked on my skin. So overall, it was a really big bummer to me. I wish I would have returned this. I don't know why I did it. I think it was because when I did my first impression and I wasn't super stoked with it, a lot of people were, you know, giving me advice or feedback, or a lot of people were like, this is my favorite foundation. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make it work. And I didn't make it work. So I should have returned this one. I did declutter it. I think it is for sale on my blog sale because I did, again, purchase it myself. So I don't know, maybe someone else will want it and they'll give it a loving home, but for me, we had to part ways. Another foundation, the last foundation that I have, is from Pure Cosmetics. This is the Bare It All foundation. I think this one, and then also the Tarte Clay Stick foundation. I did a video of my least favorite products from my favorite brands, and I think these two were the products that I mentioned for Tarte and then also Pure, two of my favorite brands, but sometimes it just happens. I mean, not every single brand is going to release everything that you absolutely love, and it's another reason why I tried to get over that whole, like, should I make this video? Is it going to be too negative? But I mean, of course, makeup simply can't work for every single person across the board. It's just not possible. So the Pure Bare It All foundation, I was so bummed that it didn't work out for me. This was sent to me in PR, which I was so grateful for. It is a $39 foundation, so it is pretty pricey. It says it's a 12-hour 4-in-1 skin perfecting foundation. I think the problem that I had with this one is it was so incredibly thick. It is a squeeze tube form, and I remember the first time I squeezed some out onto like my brush or my beauty blender, and it came out in like a very thick glob, and I just kind of looked at it like, oh, okay then. It's a little bit harder to blend out onto my skin, and I felt like it never quite just blended in right. I kind of feel like it did the same thing as the Tarte one, where it just kind of sat on top of the skin. It didn't make any improvements to my face. It really didn't even like even anything out, because sometimes I just wear foundation because I have like some uneven patches around my face. So foundation kind of helps even everything out and make it look nicer. And I don't feel like my skin looked nice with this at all. And again, it's another foundation that made me feel self-conscious the times that I would wear it, because, you know, I did wear it out several times so I could test it out to review it, and unfortunately it just did not work out for me. I was so bummed. I really do like a lot of items from Pure, but unfortunately the Bare It All foundation was a big miss for me. Morphe, and it is their concealers. These little concealers, I think they have another concealer too, but in this packaging, this is the concealer that I did not love. I actually did get sent a couple of the concealers in a PR package from Morphe, which was so awesome. I was very excited to try them, but I had known going into that I have seen less than stellar reviews on the Morphe concealer, but I'm like, nope, put it aside. Put it aside, you test it out for yourself, because like I said, you know, some things I love and other people don't love, and vice versa. I know my friends Liv and Kaylee just did some collab videos on products they love that other people hate, and then products they hate that other people love. If you guys like that video idea, if you'd want to see one from me, do let me know in the comments. I find it so interesting what works for some people and what doesn't work for other people, but knowing that, I was like, go into it with an open mind. You know, you have to give it your fair shot, because this could end up being a product that you really love. And unfortunately, I was so bummed. I was so bummed. It did not work out for me. The thing that I noticed about the Morphe concealer is that it's very drying. When I applied this, I realized after the first time that I used it, because when I apply concealer, I typically put it on one under eye, the other under eye, and then if I'm highlighting the center of my face, I put it on my forehead, my nose, my cupid's bow, and my chins, basically the straight line down your face. I would blend out one eye, and by the time I got to the other eye, the concealer would be dry, and it would just be stuck there. And I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And I realized it was best to use this with a damp beauty blender to kind of try to give it a little bit more like hydration to the concealer, but unfortunately not only did it dry quickly, so even if I applied to one under eye and blended it out, then applied to the under eye and blended it out, it still was just so very dry that it would look kind of like crepey on my under eyes. I'm someone who struggles with dry under eyes, especially bad in the winter as the cold weather is coming up. I'm already like completely stocked up on like under eye patches and under eye gels, under eye creams, everything, because I know that I can get dry patches. But even during the summer and the warmer weathers, I can still deal with dry under eyes. And if I use a concealer that's too drying, it's just a mess under there. It does not look cute. It's just not good. So unfortunately that is what I realized with the Morphe concealer. So these were a big miss for me in 2017. And then the last items that I have to talk about are a lipstick. I actually kind of forgot about this one until I was going back and watching my makeup monthlies. And I want to say this was from like the month of March, I think it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did I forget about those? These are liquid lipsticks from Wet n Wild. Oh man, and I was so bummed about these. I'll insert some photos of what they look like because I don't have any more in my possession, even though I purchased like 4 or 5 different colors, because everybody started raving about the Wet n Wild liquid catsuit liquid lipsticks. And I was like, I definitely need to get these. I went to like my CVS and they didn't have any there. I went to my Walgreens and I don't even like Walgreens. Like I started boycotting Walgreens like years ago because of bad situations that happened there, and I was going to Walgreens trying to find these lipsticks because I was like, everybody's talking about them. Mitch and I went out of town to his hometown and I was like, can we stop by the Walgreens? I need to see if they have these lipsticks. Like that is how much people were hyping them up, and I was like, I need to get them. And I was so disappointed in them and I was so bummed. Now they are only like $4 or $5 because it's Wet n Wild, who actually is keeping affordability at the drugstore level, which is great. So they're very inexpensive. But still, I bought like 5 of them. So I mean, I still spent over $20 trying to make these liquid lipsticks work, because I was like, it must just be this color. I'll just buy a different color and then that one will probably work better. I mean, I bought like the lightest beige, I bought a red, I bought like the mauve, I bought the nude. I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? To me, they were so drying, like incredibly drying. And I love liquid lipsticks. I try a lot of liquid lipstick formulas, but that one was one of the most drying ones. It was uncomfortable on the lips. But they didn't stay on me. The first time I filmed with those on, I applied it right before I get on camera like I normally do. I filmed for 20-30 minutes, whatever it takes for me to film a video. By the time I got done, it was completely worn away in the center of my lip. It looked so unattractive. I was like, and all I was doing was talking. I wasn't eating, I didn't drink anything. I was just sitting here talking, and the lipstick wore away so quickly. So I tried so many different shades. I really wanted to make these work. I wanted to find that affordable drugstore liquid lipstick that I absolutely love. And you know what? The NYX liquid suede's like what I have on today. I put on my saucy lipstick today, since we're talking about makeup we don't like. This is in, I believe it's Stone Fox from NYX. I love the NYX liquid suedes, the soft matte lip creams. I mean, there's good affordable drugstore liquid lipsticks and lipsticks out there, but the Wet n Wild ones, they did not make the cut for me. Alright guys, so that is going to be everything for my 7 disappointing makeup products of 2017. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video or found it helpful or entertaining in some way. Again, of course, you know, probably a bit more of a negative video, but it's just makeup at the end of the day, and not everything is going to work for everybody, so always keep that in mind. I'm sure I probably mentioned something that is a favorite of yours, and just don't hold it against me that it didn't work out for me, okay? But thank you guys so much for watching. If you do have any other video suggestions for me, please do leave them in the comments down below. And as always, if you guys did enjoy this video, I hope that you will give it a thumbs up. I hope that you will also consider subscribing before you go, and I will catch you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.